Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Waiver Wire Show here at Sports Ethos. You're with me, Eric, at Rotomancer on Twitter. So, whoa, um, what we have on tonight is basically my recommendations for waiver wire pickups post trade deadline fallout, as well as strategies and suggestions for guys that might be useful for fantasy managers who are trying to make the playoffs in their respective leagues. In head to head, we're probably closing out the remainder of the fantasy regular season. And as a result, we're going to see a lot of teams vying for those top eight or top six slots, depending on their league settings. Mm, if you're not lucky enough to be one of the few fantasy teams out there who are uh, comfortably locked into a playoff berth, this is the time to really lock and load and provide, find players who will provide you quality value moving forward. I know it's difficult at this time, uh, but yeah, let's sort a few things out. So, interestingly enough, let's start with the Atlanta Hawks and what happened with the recently approved Sadiq Bey uh, inclusion of that 14 trade that involved Gary Payton, the second, James Wiseman, etc., with the Golden State Warriors. That's, finally pushing through, though it was in doubt for a while. The latest is that Sadiq Bey was given a starting nod tonight, Monday. Um, Now, while that's an interesting situation, we have to monitor how that's going to affect guys like DeAndre Hunter. There's a chance that if Sadiq Bey pushes Hunter, out of those minutes that he's been used to, we could see a significant drop in his production. Now, mid show, let's just take a quick peek. The game is, I think, already at halftime, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but yeah, so so it's the Hawks versus Hornets here. Sadiq Bey has only played 9 minutes, surprisingly. Uh, and Oh, all right. He started in place of John Collins, who was out. So he started alongside DeAndre Hunter. And no, it's not a good thing to see Bay play only 9 minutes so far. The rest of the starters, we have the next lowest in minutes with Clint Capella, who's actually second in points right now. All right. So off the top, what we're going to see here is a significant drop um, in minutes for AJ Griffin. As nice as he was briefly, in his 15 minutes of fame, Griffin's going to struggle to find minutes, even though he's playing more minutes at the moment, currently at halftime, um, the first half, over Bay. Bay is just too good, too much, has too much of an experience edge over him that those minutes are going to see an uptick. It's already good to see Bay do his 3 and D shtick with two threes and a block so far in 9 minutes, which is good as far as per minute uh, production is concerned. But more importantly, another team that I wanted to discuss and figure things out is the Brooklyn Nets. So far, we've got Dorian Finney-Smith starting once again for the Nets tonight against the Knicks. Once players who've been traded to them were cleared, we saw them run out a lineup of Spencer Dinwiddie, Nicholas Claxton, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and of course the aforementioned Finney-Smith. Uh, I made the mistake of dropping Finney-Smith thinking that he'd be coming off the bench. And in fact, what happened was it was Royce O'Neal who got, relegated to the second unit, which is unfortunate because um, I also have shares of Royce in multiple leagues. So that's just terrible for based on that situation. So let's navigate through the Nets. Um, Finney Smith is probably worth a hold in deep leagues. Obviously, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Dinwiddie Claxton are all worthwhile holds in shallower formats. That's pretty much a given right there. Um, Guys like Finney Smith, Royce O'Neal, they're on shaky ground as far as I'm concerned, even in deep leagues. And as you well know, I play in a lot of 16 teamers. I'm currently weighing O'Neal's production, um, seeing where it goes from here. He was pretty good. I mean, he was like a top 80 guy at some point in the season when he was starting, providing a bunch of threes. His improved 3-point shooting this year was really a big deal, actually. And it's not gonna be looking as good. So what happened last game was Joe Harris really went off, shot a lot of threes, but then that's just Joe Harris for you. He's a points and threes guy who can really get hot, but beyond that, he doesn't really offer much other than the fact that he does provide those 3-point contributions while preserving your fantasy team's field goal percentage. At best, he's still a 3-point streamer as far as I'm concerned. Um, Isaiah Hartenstein is still solid in my book. I think that he has some streaming um, value slash appeal in standard leagues. If you're looking for a boost in rebounds and the odd defensive stat here and there, um, my eyes are also trained on Josh Hart since we're looking at this New York game between the Nets and the Knicks. Eh, Josh Hart, his move to the Knicks obviously is not great for his fantasy value from a starter over at Portland. He's now coming off the bench in some sort of Swiss knifey wing role since he is that kind of guy who can give you contributions across the board. That's probably how they're looking at him. He also adds a more concrete defensive presence for the Knicks, something that they've lacked for a long time now. And um, based on that situation, I think that Hart will get his minutes, though they won't be as consistent as they once were back in Portland. Uh, I think he's still going to retain 12 team value moving forward. It's just that there will be some sort of dip, but he will probably hang on. He might fall outside of the top 100, but I don't. I think that he just does enough across multiple categories for him to be considered a hold, or at least be an end of bench guy to round out those stats. Okay. Uh, I don't know about you guys, but I've been able to stream Sam Hauser from the Celtics for for like a couple of games. The 3-point shooting has been great. Since my what do you call this? Since my expectations weren't very high, it was a very nice and pleasant surprise that he was been productive. I think that his couple of games here pre All Star break are going to be valuable. Um, oh yeah, speaking of which, since we are on that topic, these recommendations are going to be mixed. I know that Yahoo, for example, combines the pre All Star break week or the half week that it is, and joins it together with the post All Star week chunk. Unlike, let's say, um, CBS, for example, that combines the those weeks into one, um, it will vary. So off the top, uh, guys I've been looking at in the absence of Alex Caruso, obviously, Io, uh, Io of the Bulls gets a nod. They have 3 games. Well, the first game is already ongoing, so he'll still have two left. Yeah, for the remainder of this week or this half of the combined, uh, All Star Week combo platter. He's not been great, to be honest, but if you just need a small booster in those guard stats, he could do in a pinch. Still mostly for deep league um, consideration. Yeah. Um, and another guy who I've been kind of loving as of late, he's probably seen some ups and downs in shallower formats, but the Nuggets, Bruce Brown, Caldwell Pope, they've been solid as a rock. I'm keeping my eye on Thomas Bryant, who ever since he was traded to the Nuggets has been dropped in my deeper leagues. So far tonight in his debut, well, partial debut, he's played 6 minutes so far. Um, he's played well actually, scoring 8 points, co-leading the Nuggets in points at this juncture with 8 points, 1 rebound, 3 or 4 shooting from the field, perfect 2 for 2 from the line. Though he has committed already a team high 2 fouls, that's something to monitor moving forward and should be a point of interest. We all know that he was probably dropped at some point the moment Anthony Davis returned because he fell off worse than Wile E. Coyote in one of those Looney Tunes cartoons, chasing the Roadrunner. Um, as much as people are concerned about him backing up a high minutes guy in Nikola Jokic, I'm not all that concerned. Uh, it's they're okay off the top because the Nuggets are the best team in the West. Um, there's going to be a situation where they're going to rest Jokic here and there, and that being the case, off the top there will be spot starts for Thomas Bryant. I think that's going to be a big deal. He's going to be able to pop easily with top 100 value. So if you have the luxury to pick him up, stream him, or whatnot, even hold him in deeper formats, he's not that bad. It's not that bad of a situation for him finding himself on the Nuggets. All right. Uh, let's see here. Ah, all right. Um, in the post Mobamba fallout, since we're talking about Thomas Bryant being shipped off to the Nuggets, they replaced him pretty much with Mobamba of the Magic. The situation here is looking better, slightly, but not all that great. Um, we're looking at Mo Wagner and Bol Bol as the primary uh, big man rotation guys that are left. It's still a bit of a logjam, but the fact that Wagner can easily play power forward, thus backing up both Paulo Banchero and Wendell Carter Jr., gives him a little bit of flexibility, though he's been playing 20 minutes or fewer the past, I don't know, several nights already. But his production per minute so far this season has been pretty impressive, has been pretty stable. I picked him up recently in one of my deeper leagues for this coming week. So he's a deep league recommendation. He's not bad. I actually got burned in one league by Brandon Clark of all people. I was holding on to him, used him in a 16 teamer, and he went 0 for 3 from the line. I think I also had for that last day, Sunday, Precious Achua, I think shot 50% from the free throw line, 3 of 6. So that was an effective 3 of 9 from both guys on the Sunday. And that so instead of winning 7-2, I won 6-3, which was a terrible bummer, but it is what it is. I kind of like Wagner because he does shoot the ball well from the free throw line. I cycled out Santi Aldama, who I streamed in just to win rebounds in that other league that I'm talking about. Uh, Wagner's solid. Um, for whatever reason, despite both Wagner and Bol Bol playing, low-ish minutes now that Wendell Carter is healthy and playing all of these minutes, it's Wagner who's been able to be solid. Okay, in the last few games he's like hit a couple of threes, shot well from the line and the field. Rebounding isn't that great. Neither are the blocks. So he's not your traditional big man in that sense. But if in my case, for the specific need that I was after, I wanted 3-point shooting from the center position, and someone who didn't hurt my free throw. Santi Aldama can shoot a bit inconsistently from the field and the line, especially when he's not locked into minutes. Uh, so there. We've seen a lot of since I'm just going by sheer train of thought here as I discuss players. We've seen a lot of drops of Precious Achua and um, Chris Boucher, and rightfully so because of the arrival of Jakob Portal, who has been coming off the bench so far. I think it might just be a matter of time until he starts. And even if he doesn't start, he just brings so much defensively and from a rebounding perspective that he will get solid minutes, and those minutes are going to ramp up as the season winds down. Surprisingly, Boucher has been still somehow serviceable for me in the 16 teamer. The one 16 teamer left where I have him rostered, he's able to, chip in blocks, steals. Yeah. He's no longer a standard league streaming option, though. But that said, I still recommend him as a hold in deeper formats. An interesting situation, and on one of the other hot pickups who I do recommend almost across the board is Devonte Graham. Yeah, Devonte blew up for season highs in threes made and points scored in his Spurs debut, but since the return of Trey Jones, well, and some other uh, Spurs starters, we we've seen Graham uh, moved to the bench. But that said, I like what he brings to the table. He still sets a good example for um, the younger guys here on this club, and I think Pops is going to use him. There's no point in not using him. He's able to control the tempo of the game from a ball distribution perspective. He also can shoot a lot of threes, though tonight we're like early in the third quarter. By the time I'm taking a peek at this, the Spurs are taking on the Cavs. He's played 14 minutes, scored 4 points, dished out 5 assists, and gotten 1 steal, though he's missed all 3 of his 3-point attempts. Those should come back. My only concern with him moving forward are potentially his turnovers and field goal, much similar to the time when he was a player of much higher usage. Um, yeah, but overall, he's not bad. In his second game as a Spur, The points definitely went down, but he still filled up the stat sheet. He accumulated, I think, 2 steals and 2 blocks. And I think the defensive minded system of the Spurs is gonna rub off well on him. And you can use him definitely as a short term, see how it goes, kind of pick up in 12 teamers. You can obviously cut him loose if he starts to fall off. But for now, based on his current production, he's somebody definitely worth looking into. Now, while we're on the topic of the Spurs, um, we've also seen the return of Jeremy Sohan, who was questionable tonight. I think for conditioning purposes, but he's somebody who's going to just simply get unleashed uh, moving forward. Uh, he should be rostered, as far as I'm concerned, uh, in standard leagues. I'm pretty sure there are a couple of leagues out there where he can be picked up. I think he should be picked up. I was able to pick him up. Well, I had to burn a waiver for him pre-deadline in a deep league, but nonetheless, his absence was probably enough for him to have been dropped. He should be picked up again. Okay. Um, and the last couple of names, Spurs. The Spurs team is going to be critical down the stretch in fantasy. We're going to see guys playing for this team who will be stream worthy, pickup worthy, etc., etc. Sohan is falls under that category of pickup worthy. Um, Now, another pickup worthy guy, because I don't know how that's gonna uh, form up in standard leagues, but I really like the situation for Zach Collins moving forward. The rest of the season, he has a wide open runway to shine. And as we speak, or as I speak for that matter, uh, with 7.5 minutes left in the third, uh, the guy's already dropped 11 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, 1 triple, and 2 steals in 20 minutes. That's just ridiculous. And mind you, he's going up against the likes of Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley. Amazing how he's holding his own. He's not, one of those bump and grind bigs in the paint who will muscle his way. He's more of a soft touch finesse kind of a big on the lankier side, but because he does have that soft touch, you can really count on him for some low end stretch five production. Uh, yeah. Uh, Surprisingly, I'm unsure of what this direction that the Spurs are headed at, given their current personnel lineup. You've got Keldon Johnson, who can't play defense, as you can see from his fantasy value. He's barely clinging on to, uh, you know, 12 team value because of his top 150 ish ranking, mainly because of his offense only stat set. Then they have a shooting guard version of Keldon Johnson, basically in Malachi Branham, who is a decent scorer, probably a superior 3 point shooter than Keldon Johnson. Uh, but he has not shown much on the defensive end. Probably a bit more than Johnson is inclined to do. So he's surprisingly a little bit better, though he will not provide you the scoring volumes that Keldon will be capable of. Branham uh, is somebody who the Spurs are providing another clear pathway to production. I'd say he is must roster in 14, maybe 16 teams or deeper. But in 12 teamers, no, you probably just want to stream it. Okay. Uh, so yeah. Uh, okay. I wanted to take a look at the Utah Jazz and how Colin Sexton was an interesting pickup for a lot of people. But uh, for me, as far as I'm concerned, the jury's still out, really. He's I've never been a fan. He doesn't bring a lot of peripheral stats to the table, which is an issue, but he is what he is. He's probably going to end up being a decent facilitator now that Mike Conley is no longer with the Jazz. I question his willingness and ability to hit threes, which are, virtually not there. I mean, all right, if you're not going to hit your threes, you should at least be a great defender or a suitably adequate defender. Let's say like Markel Fultz, for example, who can rack up the assists and steals along the way while, you know, providing the kind of value that you're after. Sexton, on the other hand, is not a Markel Fultz level player, thus providing, questionable or marginal value even in deep leagues. Interestingly enough, uh, Jazz taking on the Pacers right now. Um, I wanted to zero in on uh, the surprising use of Daniel Tice as a starting center in the absence of Miles Turner. That to me is somewhat of a crazy head scratcher, to be honest. Uh, I can't make heads or tails of it. Why not start Isaiah Jackson, who in 14 minutes, by the way, has 8 points and 4 blocks? Clearly, clearly, he's the superior player. Um, I don't know. I'm not liking what I see. Uh, Speaking of frustrations, just to stick with the theme that I've got going on right now, we've got Arron Smith being the only pacer in double figures. Go figure. Uh, 19 points, four threes, two steals. Eh, The game's not even close to over, and he's already produced a very solid 3 and D stat set for anyone who happens to have had him rostered. Though prior to this, he's been dropped in multiple uh, leagues. I've got my eye, deep leagues only, on Jordan Nwora. He's not bad either. I think that the Pacers got a good deal in acquiring Nwora. He fits their age timeline a lot better. Uh, Quite the opposite as George Hill, but you know, George Hill is gonna be there as a locker room mentor type guy for these young players. Along with TJ McConnell, he's gonna help groom these young Pacer guards in you know how to play much better than they actually do as of the moment. So Neesmith has been one of the most dizzying roller coaster players this season. Yes, it's been frustrating. Uh, he's too hit or miss as far as I'm concerned for the standard league conversation. But that said, I think that he has his place in deeper leagues because it's really hard to find somebody who can get you four threes, two steals in a pinch. Okay, so uh, still more trade fallout. And this time it's a non-trade situation that has me looking at a guy, and that's Kenyan Martin Jr. of the Rockets. The Rockets offloaded Eric Gordon, kept Kenyan Martin Jr., uh, and he's pretty much stuck as a as the starting small forward uh, for the Rockets. They're doing a skilled, lengthy guy situation by having Jalen Green run the point, although the ball facilitation will be between him and Shingun. Uh, they have two small forwards here in Kenyon Martin slash Jayshawn Tate. Tate probably sliding in more on that combo wing forward situation. He's somebody to look at. The fact that Martin and Tate are still chomping up the minutes. They've each played 20 or more as of 6.5 minutes left in the third quarter, leaving only 9 minutes for Tari Eason. Uh, Probably my bigger or biggest heartbreak of the season so far, uh, which leads me to this point of a new resolution for next season. Though I will be cutting back more harshly, I will also implement a strict rule of only one rookie per fantasy team. And that rookie uh, should have been and is should have been only Keegan Murray, who I have a lot of shares of in my teams, I'm quite happy about. And he is somebody who I will target easily uh, within the top 75, expecting closer to a top 50 return next season. Uh, but I got too enamored with what Eason did in the summer league. I fell for uh, one of the biggest mistakes that I warned listeners and readers for such a long time now, which is don't fall for summer league or preseason hype. You simply shouldn't do that. It's only a mess for you if you do. Uh, all right. So, well, there being very with no questions left. I know I am already the third show for the Ethos lineup tonight. We've had, I think, Dan and Steve do each of their own shows. So everyone else who has had any questions that needed to be answered probably asked them and they were answered already. So boohoo to me. I won't get to answer any more questions for the night. Well, it's daytime here, as you can see here. It's already Valentine's Day here in the Philippines. Probably that's also why I'm wearing red. I know, cheesy, whatever. No, that's not really true. I just grabbed it when I got ready for the show. Uh, I'll probably keep this short. I think I was able to throw out a lot of names out there already. Uh, Another probably I'll throw one last deep league guy who I have my eye on, um, and that's Josh Richardson, who is making his debut for the Pelicans tonight. I like his potential. I like what he brings to the table. He is admittedly a bit redundant with Trey Murphy to some extent, given that we're talking about 3 and D situation here. But apparently, with the way the Pelicans are building their team or setting things up, assuming Zion Williamson was playing, they're excuse me. Even with Zion Williamson experiencing a setback, you can tell that the Pelicans are slowly forming their roster in such a way that they're still planning based on operating around Zion, which is good. What that means is they want as many um, decent 3 point shooters surrounding him as possible. And, you know, uh, Josh Richardson is, that kind of guy who can help a little bit on defense, hit those threes. He's hasn't hit one yet. He's only played 8 minutes in the game, which is only in the second, the start of the second quarter. But yeah, uh, I like that situation right there. So um, that's it. Well, yeah, he's still pretty much just a deep league guy, by the way. Just to be clear about that. Uh, and on that note, since we've been here for about just over 30 minutes, I like to thank you all. Those who are watching this on the replay, sorry you missed it. Sorry you couldn't participate live. Um, and yeah, uh, I will be back after the All Star break. As far as the exact day and time of that, um, I'm not 100% sure. we'll play it by ear, and from there we're gonna come back with the more waiver wire pickup suggestions. Until then, thank you everyone for watching. Those who came in and watched live, though you were just lurking, it's all right. And those who are watching this on the replay, don't forget to follow me on Twitter. It's right over there. Oops. Yep, there. Eric at Rotomancer. Uh, Hit me up if you have any questions anytime, and I will get to them. Don't forget to like, subscribe, like this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you will be aware when I'm coming live once again. And yeah, thank you all. Bye bye.